Could the grass be greener elsewhere for Joe Coffey? Many wrestlers raise their stock outside of WWE and make a triumphant return. Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. Could Joe Coffey go out there, become a main event player, and return to WWE? Or maybe just go elsewhere and be a main event player and be happy there? Me and my partner are going to discuss Joe Coffey on whether or not we see the star potential in him. Maybe it has to be elsewhere first. Before we get to that, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the page. All right, so what's your thoughts on Joe Coffey? Because I think the dude has potential for sure.
Yeah, I like Joe Coffey. I enjoyed. He had two big UK title matches with Pete Dunne and Walter, and I thought those were great matches. For me, what I don't like about Joe Coffey is Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. I think that it's just something about those two I'm not really a big fan of. They don't really do anything for me, and I think he's the better talent in the group, and I think he would be better off on his own. I don't know if leaving WWE or staying is the right choice, but definitely going solo, I think, is his best bet.
I feel like his best bet is TNA. I think he would have amazing matches with Ace Austin, Chris Bay. I think he could even have a good feud with PCO.
Yeah.
Steve Macklin is someone I really thought of a whole dream feud with him.
Yeah.
Another reason I think TNA works for him is Gallus. How you said that you're not that high on them. It does feel like something's flat with them in NXT. TNA, they don't really seem to have that problem when it comes to vignettes of groups outside of the wrestling ring. So like LAX. The Broken Universe, I feel like, has only worked in TNA. Who the fuck cares about Matt and Jeff Hardy's Broken Universe in WWE or AEW? It only worked there. I think that says something about TNA. Wrestle House was cool, TNA. So if Joe Coffey steps away from WWE, you go to TNA, maybe you do bring Gallus, and you actually get an Irish LAX, like this cool mob type figure group. You get a world championship run. Maybe all of a sudden Steve Macklin steps up to you, or Josh Alexander. He has built in really good feuds, I feel like, and he can be the guy there. I feel like Joe Coffey and Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin, that's fun feuds, good matches, elevates both talents.
Yeah.
And then Josh Alexander, I would assume, is leaving at some point. I feel like.
Oh, yeah, that guy's a star. Somebody's going to scoop him up. But you mentioned Steve Macklin. That's your perfect example when it comes to the Joe Coffey leaving thing. Because, he was a part of WWE as well, and he left, and look what happened. He was a part of a shitty group in WWE. He left, became TNA champion, main event player. I think the same could happen with Joe Coffey. You talk about an Irish LAX. They could be wrestling's version of the Peaky Blinders, like a ripoff of the Peaky Blinders. But I do think he could use with kind of a gimmick, almost like just a guy that loves a good fight, and it works as a face or a heel. If he's a face and say he's still in NXT and he sees a guy like Braun Breaker or a guy like Baron Corbin bullying someone, he could kind of step in and be like, well, if you're looking for a fight, I always love a fight type of thing. And then it also transitions as a heel where he's the bully and he's looking for a fight. So I think a gimmick like that could really work for Joe Coffey.
Yeah, and when he feuded with Gunther Walter at the time, they did a countdown show, and Joe Coffey, for his part in the show, he woke up at 5 a.m. and drank coffee and watched Gunther's matches to learn. I think that fits his character the best, where he's just this, like you just said, he's this fighter, this bully, but also has the mental, he takes it as a sport.
Yeah.
And I think with what they're doing in WWE with him, it's just kind of typical run-of-the-mill stable type shit where I think he needs to go out to TNA, and they would do that stable a lot more justice, which would help build him back up. I don't know if he could become a main event player in WWE, but he definitely could do more than what he's doing. Also, even if he just goes to TNA, has that good run, and is brought back to WWE, I do think Shawn Michaels, once he sees how others worked with Joe Coffey, would capitalize on that, and he would be a perfect star for NXT. Like, he could just be a constant for NXT, where it's like, hey, this guy we can trust, we can do a shit ton of storylines with, put on good matches. I think Shawn would be able to capitalize on that. Right now, I think Shawn's just probably got so many eggs in his basket that he's not booking Coffey right or seeing what I do think Coffey has to offer.
I think a benefit for Coffey right now in NXT, if you wanted to do something with him right now, put him with Dragunov. I thought that his match with Walter was really good and hard hitting, and I feel like if you gave him Dragunov and just let him beat the shit out of each other, and he can kind of show what he can do and the kind of style he can put on, I think that would help him right now. That would be your kind of quick fix.
And before you said that maybe he could just transition into the Sheamus role, I think before he can transition into that, he needs that, like, just that main event run for a second, to where he's like, all right, this guy's badass.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the Dragunov thing. Like, give him Dragunov and let him beat the shit out of each other, and then it shows, like, okay, this guy is a badass, and then you can go into the, I just love a good fight. And then just walk around backstage like, you looking for a fight? Because I'm looking for a fight.
And he could be like that when Cena had the open challenge, like that, you knew you were going to get that one good match on Raw. He could be that one guy that's like, all right, I'm wrestling every week, putting on a show every week.
Calling guys out, open challenge. There you go, the Joe Coffey open challenge.
Yeah. All right, so in the comments, let us know your views on Joe Coffey. If you see star potential in him, if you think that a run in TNA would be good for him, if he could knock it out the park there and then maybe return to WWE.